Welcome to the Chronic Warriors podcast with Cassandra A. Campbell, a platform to share, hear, and cheer chronic illness warriors.
Just know that when you made your commitment to your partner, you took their whole selves.
To be able to have a bad day, to be able to say, do you know what, I can't cope no more.
I am a chronic warrior because every day I wake up and I'm so glad to still be here.
Welcome, Chronic Warriors. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you're having a good one so far. Today's partner episode is with my very own partner, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hey, babes. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. Looking forward to our little chat.
Yeah, I can't lie. It does feel a little bit weird for me doing this with you, but let's just see where it takes us, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so as everyone knows, I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and fibromyalgia. And I'm interested in to know when I first told you about my conditions, what went through your mind?
The initial thought I had was I was intrigued. I'm someone that through sort of my own history, have an interest in the body and the functions of it. And, I was a personal trainer. But EDS wasn't something that I was aware of or knew anything about. So I think the first thing that struck me was, okay, what's that? And then the rest of it was really, I wasn't threatened by it or what it could mean. It was just much more about sort of a curiosity and an intrigue. I think I was more interested in you, the person, anyway, as opposed to, illness. Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't say that you had any reservations in regards to that?
No, I think on reflection as well, the way that you brought it to me was in a non-threatening way. So you didn't present it in a way that it was sort of the end of the world. That it was in any way really took away from who you are. It was something more in addition to, as opposed to, this is all very negative and it's sort of like, for want of a better word, doomsday. Yeah, I think that, people can present things in particular ways and they through that they present certain connotations about it. But I think because of the work that you had done, you were able to put it in a way that made me feel probably a bit more relaxed about it, as someone who didn't know anything, or maybe had heard it in passing, something like that, but was never sort of invited to really understand any more than that.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I'd put in the work to get to a point of acceptance. And for many years, I didn't have that acceptance. But definitely by the time I've met you, I'd gotten to a point of accepting, look, you know what, this is what it is. There's not that much you can do about it. So you've just got to try and live your best life despite it. Yeah. And I think if I recall, one of the other things that may have helped, and you can say, is I think the first thing that I did was I sent you one of my EDS Unplugged videos. And that was sort of a bit of an icebreaker for me, because I do always find it challenging to tell somebody, especially somebody that I might be interested in, well, I've got these conditions and this is what happens. And this is how it affects me. So yeah, that was kind of like my opening, my icebreaker. And then you came back and started asking questions.
Yeah, I think, in that instance, it was, as you say, it was an icebreaker. It was a way for me to understand more about who you were or who you are. I could see, your character, the playfulness, the banter, as well as, you know, the reality of what the condition means for you and who you were doing it with, which was Marcia, you know, it just made it easier to approach. And also, you know, the fact that you took that risk gave me a gateway to taking my own risks, because, you know, we all have our sort of backstories and may feel that we have, you know, we have these things that we hold close to our chests and aren't sure how people will take them because we want to be accepted. And I think you also made that easier for me to do the same. And you know, that was helpful. That was useful. That's
Yeah,
good.
for me, your, you know, your response to that helped me to feel accepted and just, you know, comfortable to talk about the conditions and how they impact my life. So that was a massive, you know, I didn't feel like there was any kind of barrier or judgment, or, you know, I didn't feel, you know, there was much trepidation or anything like that. It was, your response was very much like, I'm really interested, you know. And I remember you even went away and you did some research, and that was like a definite tick box for me, the fact that you did that, you know, and showed an interest in it, and independently went away and did some research. That was a massive tick box for me. So how would you say my conditions, pain, fatigue, the unpredictability and things like that, how would you say that they have impacted our relationship?
Slightly different ways. I think overall, you know, there are moments that I would say are more challenging than others. It might be that, you know, we've planned to go somewhere, do something, and that might have to be delayed or rethought or replanned. But I think overall, you know, we negotiate, we find ways around that, around, you know, plans that we may have made. And I think that comes back down to what you just said there, which is acceptance. This is where we are, this is how things are, and we do things within the realms of what's possible. I think, you know, we all have off days. I think that ability for us to communicate how we feel deep down is how we move. It's how we move forward. And I think we've been quite good at that.
I agree, and I think you've also helped me to be more open and honest about how I'm feeling from one minute to the next. You know, although I might not tell you every single minute, you know, when I've got pain or something's going on, but I think in the past I've been very closed. You know, I still have that thing, that guilt, and that, you know, thing of not wanting to burden you. I continue to work on that, you know, but you don't, a big part of that is about you and your response, how you respond to things. And I think we've gone through a journey, and it just improves as we go along.
Yeah,
But I definitely know that by me explaining things to you, it's helped you to have an even better understanding of how I'm affected.
yeah, I think that's true. I mean, you know, I can be, you know, we want what we want, and we want, you know, things to work the way that we want them to work. And in that, I think there's been times where I haven't probably been able to apply that mode of thinking to a situation, or, you know, my approach has been because I would like to fix it, but maybe I don't understand properly either how to fix it, or that it's not something that can be fixed. It's something that needs time, and it needs to sort of work itself out on its own. And that means, you know, you take time out, and, you know, you move when you're ready, when you're able to. But it's not now. It might not even be today. And so for me, is you know, that's a sort of a message for me to then, you know, you can't fix everything. And sometimes it's just about taking a step back.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that I also found a bit frustrating in the earlier days, you know, because although I knew you were coming from a good place of wanting to help, that thing which I think a lot of men have of wanting to fix everything, you know, I mean, people have it, but they do say that, you know, men, you know, specifically want to fix everything. And sometimes what is needed is just for you to listen, or
Yeah.
to give me a hug, or something like that. And I think we had to navigate around that for you to get that, and for me not to be frustrated if you weren't getting that, and if you were trying to offer solutions.
Yeah.
You know, so that took, I don't think it took much work, but it was a discussion that we definitely had to have. You
Yeah, I
know,
agree.
I think also, you know, I always used to wonder, and I guess I used to say it to you as well, you know, because I would have my days where my rest days, or I have my days where I'm just so exhausted or in pain that I can't really do much of anything, you know, and even if we're just talking about things around the home, like washing up and things like that. And if I was having, whether it be a rest day or just a total fatigue day, I always used to worry, oh, does he just think I'm a lazy cow? You know, what is he thinking? Does he think I'm putting it on? You know, those things would always be running through my mind. Not they don't now, because I think you get that I will push myself even when I'm not feeling great. I will push myself to get things done. But when I need to rest, I just need to rest. And I have my good days and my bad days, and I know that you have a better understanding of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's, I think some of that is just about time. Yeah, it's about time and getting used to, you know, a person's characteristics, mannerisms, what they're used to. You know, we come into a relationship with our own baggage and, you know, being used to doing certain things. You know, that's everything. Whether it's, you know, the time we might, I don't know, eat, to leaving the house, to sleeping, for instance. You know, we have that. And so as a couple now, we're trying to forge a new thing together and incorporate all of those things that we are used to and are bringing with us. And so, yeah, definitely there was, you know, some of that is in the course of understanding. You're going to get things wrong. I got things wrong. I probably still get things wrong now anyway. Yeah, but it's part of that journey and part of striving to be better at, you know, better partners and be better in the relationship based on sort of collaborative exercise, which is what relationships are.
We've experienced quite a bit in our relationship, and I think the past year, you know, having the lockdown, we've chosen to spend a lot more time with each other. But within that period, I've had quite a lot of injuries that have been long lasting. Whereas I've always had injuries, subluxations, all different things happening with my body, but they've not really lasted for such long periods of time as these 2 or 3 injuries that I've been experiencing have. And so that's been something that's been new for me, but also for you. And in some ways they've been even, you know, because they've lasted so long, they've been even more debilitating in some ways in regards to just doing everyday things. And I think you've handled that really well.
Thank you.
You've been really supportive.
Oh, yeah, I hope so. And, you know, and I'm always in admiration and awe even of the way that you deal with things, because I can't, you know, as much as we might have discussions about how things are for you, I am not in your shoes. So it's easy for me to be less connected, if that's the right phrase, to it, because I'm not in it. And I do sit sometimes and think, wow, you know, what is that like? And to have gotten to where you are now, yeah, it's just very admirable and humbling.
Thank you. Well, I think at the same time, I mean, you also been having some problems with your back as well. So you do have a sense of, or, whether that be a small part or a big part of what I experience on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because I know that's also a challenge for you. And that's something new for me, to have a partner who also experiences a form of chronic pain. It may not be to the depths of my pain, but it's still there. And it's still something that I've had to consider and get used to.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's yeah, my back pain has been an interesting one. But I think it's weird because on the one hand, I sort of accept it for what it is, and I suppose the only reason I'm able to do that is because I don't know any other way to deal with it. And I don't know if that's similar to your situation, in the sense that you just make the best of it. Because I know there was a period, and I sort of still have moments like that where it's like, well, why is this happening? What is the reason?
Oh yeah.
And I still want to know that. I'm still sort of doing my investigation, but in doing that, I'm also trying to find ways to alleviate, as opposed to just saying, just sort of pushing it away and saying, oh, I don't like this situation, and sort of get mad about it. I'm also sort of trying to find remedies, and you and I are finding remedies, and also ways that we can be helpful to each other in the sense of treatments. We've gone places, we've got massages, we've got, other sort of programs that potentially will be assistive. And that's where, apart from obviously the point and purpose of that in terms of alleviating pain, it helps our relationship.
Yeah.
So I think that's is positives in there, as much as it's also can be challenging.
Yeah, most definitely. I agree. So back to that word, challenging. What do you find the most challenging about being with me? Now, be nice. And I'm referring to me having these conditions, yeah? Nothing else.
I think the most challenging thing is that it can, and you and I have laughed about this as well, and I'm not saying that just because I'm trying to sort of, help myself, but it is that way, which is that, your body will decide to do whatever it's going to do whenever it decides to do it.
Oh yeah.
And, the fact that we can find humor in that is a good thing, because it's, it's the reality. And, as we've sort of been saying as well, it's like, how do you navigate an issue? Yeah, there's different ways you can navigate an issue, and you can navigate the issue in the most negative way and say, well, I hate this thing and I'm just not, I refute it, and I just don't accept it for what it is. Or you can say, it is what it is, and find ways to sort of make it the best that it can be. And so back to, where we've sort of planned to do some things or go out. It could be for a walk, it could be shopping, it could be to some other sort of more sort of piece of entertainment. The challenge might be that we need to renegotiate the time or the day or the slot, or, whether we're going to go at all, and find something else to do. But, that can then change in a matter of sort of minutes, even in terms of how you might feel. And, let's not, I don't want it to be all just about you as well, because my feelings can change in the midst of things as well. And maybe I'm reluctant to do something or go somewhere, or, just go on a journey or something like that. So, I mean, I think, yeah, in summary, I think that's probably what I would say.
I think also making an assumption here, I guess, well, a bit of an assumption. I know we have had discussions about intimacy and how that can sometimes be challenging, but I think we make the most of it.
Yeah.
I think we do a decent job. But I can imagine how that could be for you, not knowing when I'm going to be physically up to it, how to engage with me in that sense.
Yeah, that can be challenging. And, you know, I know that I can be, you know, when you're in a mood, you know, you can be physically more, say, rough, and less considerate of how that might be for you. And that is a challenge. That can be a challenge because it's more driven by emotion, not logic. When you're in a mood, it's you're in a mood. So yeah, that can be difficult, but it's not you know, impossible to negotiate or anything like that. It just means, for me, it just means making an adjustment.
And I'd say the same for me as well. You know, I mean, there are times where I might be in the mood, but my body's got a whole another, whole different idea about what it can do,
Yeah.
and that is frustrating for me sometimes. You know, there are times where I will push myself because it's what I want, but I know it's also what you want. And
Yeah.
to be honest, in everything that I do, not just intimacy, there's often a consequence afterwards in some way, shape, or form. So I kind of got to, a long time ago, many years ago, got to a point of, I'm going to, as much as I can, do what I enjoy doing and deal with the consequences afterwards. And I find that a lot of the time, if I'm doing something that's pleasurable, kind of can push the pain to the back of your mind and then deal with it afterwards. You know, and
Yeah.
that has been my mindset for a long time, because I think if I didn't have that mindset, I wouldn't do anything, to be honest. And if I wasn't able to push myself just a little bit and not worry about what could happen, I just wouldn't enjoy life. I wouldn't enjoy life as a woman. So yeah, I think I am always very conscious about what I can and can't do. But then on the flip side, I think, you know, I'm quite bendy, so that can have its bonuses. So that can be a good thing too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
If you could see me,
You know,
I'm kind of blushing.
I mean, you know, from my point of view as well, I mean, I never want you to feel compelled in that regard, and putting yourself through pain just for me.
But it's
Yeah.
not that though, baby. It's not that I feel compelled. This is what I want to do. This is part of our relationship. This is one way in which we connect, and it's something that I want us to have. You know, and as I said, almost everything that I do causes some kind of pain or discomfort. That is just my life. So yeah, I've had to weigh things up and think about the consequences and prioritize. And there are some things I'm going to say, well, I'm just not going to do that, you know, especially if I'm not going to get any pleasure from it. I'm just not going to do that. But, you know, it's not a case of feeling compelled. It's a case of, this is what I want to do. And damn straight, this pain is not going to stop me from doing it.
No, I hear that, and I actually appreciate that, because it's something that goes through my mind. It becomes a question, and simply for the reason of being considerate.
And you are very considerate. And I don't feel that if I'm really not up to it, if I'm in too much pain, or if I'm just exhausted, I never feel like I can't say that to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you understand and you're supportive. So it's not in any way, shape, a chore or anything like that. It's just, this is how it is, but I can let you know. And tomorrow's another day. Yeah, and I think that really is an important thing for us and for a lot of people in a relationship. And it's about how to navigate around that, but to ensure that both parties are being fulfilled and satisfied, because that is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I think that's something that we deal with pretty well. I know that our relationship is so well rounded and it's got so many different aspects to it. Things just fit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think, you know, and I that's testament to how we started.
Yeah.
That's testament to some of the stuff that we were talking about in the beginning, which is how we started. I think we started on the right kind of footing, you know, in how we were sharing our backstories, present, and some of our expectations, which you can't always know what they are, even because that changes, right? But certainly, how we were discussing and communicating, and that was something that I remember you saying to me way back in the beginning about communication and that being important. It is just, in other bits of work that I do, I realize that is so important. It's not obvious, but it's very important. But just a little bit of communication can absolutely wipe out all sorts of conflicts and differences and disagreements. If it was only just that little bit of a conversation, even. So I think that was something that we definitely understood and have strived to. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
But I think that as a basis has been so important.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Would you say that during our relationship and being with somebody with my health challenges or conditions, has it taught you anything about yourself that you didn't know before?
I want to say patience, but I think I'm patient about some things, not everything. But certainly in that, yeah, there is, we're talking about sort of planning stuff and looking to go somewhere or do something. We've talked about intimacy and stuff like that. And in all of those things, patience comes up. So, yeah, I think patience is still a part of our story, or part of my story, in terms of, learning about myself and what am I prepared to be patient about. I think, and I hope I'm a good listener. And I think one of the biggest things is, in terms of a realization about myself, is how ego fits in. It's not something that I hope I harbor, because I notice it in other people, and I don't think it's a good quality. I think it has use. It definitely has, a purpose. But I think when people's egos are used in the wrong way, and about the wrong things, it's not a very good look. So it's definitely made me think about my own ego and sort of self-importance even. And I notice sometimes, like, you might be saying something to me and I want to compare notes. My back's hurting. Oh, my back's hurting too. And I'm really that's really become, I've really sort of noticed that. And I try now more to not do that. Because it's not, and I don't do it because I'm even trying to compare or find sort of a Me Too moment. It's not even that. I think it's something that humans do, and sort of, it's such a sort of a normal sort of thing to do, to say, oh yeah, yeah, I'm having that as well. There's a recognition, but it isn't always, it's not always looked upon in that way. It's looked upon in a sort of more of a competitive way. And I don't want it to be that. But the point is, I don't think I noticed it so much as I do now.
Right. Yeah.
And that's been through conversation.
Because you've not said this to me. Yeah, it's interesting to me that you say that. And yeah, I will be honest, and I will say, especially in the early days, it used to wind me up.
Yeah.
But then I think on the flip side, I think somebody, and this is a generalization, but just going by things that people post, etc., somebody who lives with a chronic condition, a chronic illness, chronic meaning that it's going on for a long time, does get a bit frustrated when somebody sort of, compares or says, yeah, they're going through the same thing. And I think that's pretty common. But then I also do think it's about us not thinking that our pain is exclusive.
Yeah.
Because it isn't exclusive. But you can become so overwhelmed with being in this pain every single day and having this unpredictable pain and, feeling or knowing that there's going to be no end to it. So in that sense, it can become about you. And I've also had to learn that it's not, in regards to pain, it's not just about me, because you go through pain every day as well. So again, like I was saying before, it's something that I've had to learn and get used to, because it's not something I've experienced before. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's really interesting. You saying that. We'll have to chat about that later. I think we do have our jokes about the crazy things that my body does, and I kind of call you my Dorothy to my Tin Man. Joints decide to just get stuck. And for those who are from the UK and are old enough to remember Wurzel Gummidge, so Wurzel Gummidge was a scarecrow, and his joints would fall out and he'd fall apart, and then Aunt Sally would come along and pop him back together. And a lot of the time, that's what you do for me when my shoulders popped out. And I love the way that I remember the first time I ever asked you, and you know, I told you what you needed to do to push my shoulder back in, and you were just so calm. And I was just really in awe of you for that, because there was no panic. You were just really calm. Okay, tell me what I need to do. And you just did it. And I was like, wow, okay. I remember I even had to, I called my friend and I said to her, oh my gosh, he popped my shoulder back in and he was just so calm about it. I couldn't believe it. I had to share it with somebody.
I'm old enough to have been through some things and seen some things, and again, I'm interested in the body. But in those instances, I think my first response is to not make it worse for you, or to not to add to it, whatever the situation is, because that's not going to help. So it's my approach.
So, like we've said, my body does some crazy things, but what are the quirky or funny things that I do that you think that I do because of my condition? What kind of things do you think, what on earth is she doing?
The pillows.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pillows and the sort of, the sheets. How you maneuver the sheets and the pillows, I think.
So, I guess I should let you elaborate on that a bit.
So with the pillows, it's where you put the pillows. You put the pillows in between your legs and sort of as cushions for your joints. I mean, yeah, I mean, I like to sort of sit and you know, and have my back in a sort of a particular way. But yeah, you take it to another level.
And we also have the Battle of the Duvet.
Duvet, yeah, absolutely. Battle of the Duvet. But we're better at that now. We're better with that.
Yeah.
We've come to some unspoken resolution. But again, you know, I think part of that is some of that is time, and it's time and understanding as well. Yeah. And you know, what is the purpose of the pillows, you know, and the cushions? And why can't I have one?
You trying to say I'm hoarding, yeah?
No, did I say that word?
Oh gosh.
No, I think that's probably one of the main ones. I mean, I know you have, you know, issues with your joints as far as sort of cutlery and things like that, but that's not even really a quirk. That's more of a need, actually. But it's for me, it's more of a realization of how things are different for you. Whereas, you know, for me, it's just, well, you know, I hold a knife this way, or a spoon this way, or a fork this way, and I just do this thing. And whereas for you, it's more of a consideration. Cutting veg.
Yeah,
you know?
Especially since injuring my wrist.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've kind of become my sous chef, haven't you?
Yeah.
You do the preparation, I'll do the cooking, but yeah, the cutting stuff I've been finding so challenging over the past year. So it's, you know, when I'm around at yours, it's just such a help that you do that, you know, and it's for us because we're both going to eat, but it's just really helpful that I can say, you know, babe, can you do the prep for me?
Yeah.
That takes a big chunk out of the time that I spend standing up in the kitchen, and also the pressure on my wrist and my shoulders, etc. So I think we work pretty well as a team anyway in the kitchen and the things that we do.
Yeah, I agree.
This has been really fun doing this with you, you know.
Yeah, likewise. Not sure how it would be, but I think, yeah, we, you know, because we always have our firsts as well, don't we? So this is another first for
Yeah,
us.
yeah, we're always marking our firsts, and yeah, this is quite
Yeah.
a big first because this is going out to the world.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's good. So, is there anything else that you would like to add?
You know, I think we've been together now 2 years.
Yeah,
About 2
just
years.
over. Yeah,
Yeah. As you said, you know, I think we've covered a lot of ground,
yeah,
and a lot of important ground, and not just because we've needed to, but because we've wanted to. I think that's also important. You know, we're unafraid of, I'd say mostly unafraid of, you know, those things that could be challenging in terms of talking about it. And even if and if things are difficult, then we, you know, we leave it alone, kind of thing, because there will be a time when, you know, there'll be a better time maybe to have discussions about all sorts of different things.
hmm
So I think, you know, I think I'm really grateful in how we arrived at this point, given that, you know, we have our backstories, and they're not just, I don't know if there is such a thing as an idyllic backstory, but I think we have a sense of an idyllic backstory, and we don't have that, but we get on with it.
yeah, we do, and I think we do face things sort of head on and
Yeah.
through. We get through it, and it's not always easy, but we do it, and we come out the other end, and we move forward, and we're good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think for us, and for any relationship, being open and honest, that communication is really, really important. Yeah, I think that's been a major factor for our relationship, as well
Yeah.
as everything else. And
Yeah.
we've had that from the very beginning anyway, even before we met. We communicated just fantastically.
Yeah, that's true. Any hour on the phone talking about stuff, anything,
Yeah,
anything and everything.
yeah, we did. And that was, yeah, before we met. So, and that was really what drew me to you was our conversations and the way we
Yeah.
communicated about any and everything that was, Anyway, so I'm going to wrap it up now.
Yeah.
But before we go, do you have any advice for others who are in or are considering a relationship with someone who lives with the conditions that I live with?
Acceptance, communication. You know, you put your best foot forward, and by that I mean, you know, you try your best to understand what your partner is experiencing. I think, you know, for me, I was really interested in you and how you live with your conditions. I did some research, I think, to not have to be sort of guided necessarily, but to take the initiative on certain things, I think is helpful, not just for you as an individual, but for both of you as a partnership, because you're in this together. And I think what is universal to all the relationship is, if you're going to be in it, be in it. But yeah, patience, that's a big one going forward, because, you know, things are not always going to be how you want them to be when you want them to be. So I think those things, and you know, if I haven't said already, you know, communication, letting your partner know where you're at. Hopefully they are then invited to let you know where they're at, and you formulate a plan together. I think that is so important, because you're trying to strike a balance in what can be very difficult situations, emotionally, physically. That's my Deirdre impersonation.
Okay then. All right then, my babes. I am going to say goodbye to you now. Thank you so much for doing this with me and for putting yourself out there in the way that you have. I really appreciate it. And I hope our listeners have found this beneficial.
I hope so too. And thank you for inviting me, and that we've been able to do this and share our story.
Yeah. And that's just the half of it.
Yeah, more to come.
All right then, babe. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Speak to you later, babe.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Chronic Warriors podcast.